We want you guys to be introspective, think about your small business, where you are, what changes have you made, have you grown, all of that sort of stuff. Definitely a great time to do a SWOT analysis. You're going to want to make sure that your website is up to date, that it has the correct information. Hey everyone, welcome to the S.O.B. Marketing Podcast, where we celebrate the S.O.B. that you are, and if you haven't figured it out yet, we mean small-owned business. We don't mean S.O.B.
Listen, we know that as a small business owner, you are working hard on the daily to keep your business fully operational while trying to promote it. And while some days it may feel like the business is owning you, if we're being honest with each other, I bet you would admit that you wouldn't give up the insanity for anything.
Our commitment here at the S.O.B. Marketing Podcast is to give you the real talk, what works when it comes to advertising, marketing, promoting your business, and then what doesn't really work.
And Chelsea and I promise to always keep the conversation real. All right, welcome back to another episode of the S.O.B. Marketing Podcast. S.O.B. as in small-owned business. We are here. My name is Vivian, and this is my baby sister, Chelsea, two marketing professionals that are now using all of our experience and knowledge to impart and to share with small business owners. So if you are handling your marketing internally, this is the place you want to be, because we're going to give you guys the lowdown on what works, what doesn't work, and also just how you can, approach marketing in 2024. So Chelsea, what is our topic here today?
Okay, Vivian, our topic today is we wanted to do something that was relevant for the time. And since we're in April, we were thinking spring cleaning. Because I don't know about you, but I've been trying to do some spring cleaning. I know I was telling you I went through my closet. I donated and got rid of a lot of my clothes. Well, not a lot of my clothes. I got rid of a number of clothes that made a significant dent.
She still has clothes to wear. Do not be alarmed, people, okay?
Vivian, I don't know if this is maybe like a Hispanic thing, but I feel like we're low-key hoarders. Because, okay, how about this? Like, if I get takeout and they give me, like, nice Tupperware, like, I'm keeping that Tupperware. Like, I don't let Tim throw it away. I'm like, no, just wash it. And he's like, just this is trash, throw it away. And I'm like, no, this is good quality Tupperware, we're keeping it.
Yeah, I do want our listeners to let us know, what do you guys think? Because I will say this, I do now, Chelsea's dating a American boy, and I married an American man. And so I think there is some maybe cultural difference to repurposing certain things, because I will tell you, on any given day, if I leave the house, I am guaranteed that when I come back, my husband's thrown out like half of our pans or half, like it's just when they get into these like cleaning modes, it's got to go. And I do think that we have a tendency to want to hold on to things. Maybe it's not cultural. Maybe it's just the way we are wired as people, you and I. But I personally do think that there's a little bit of a cultural aspect there
thing.
to it.
I think so too. Before we get into the topic, I do also want to, this is a weird PSA, but like if you hear things being thrown in the background, I bought my cats puzzle feeders.
Okay.
So let me explain. So like it's supposed to help them use their brain, and like it makes it harder for them to get the food. Like they're not just eating, like they have to work for their food. The problem is both of my cats are brats, and what they've started doing is just flipping it over.
I was going to say, poor
so
Pup.
If you
y'all, Pup is Chelsea's, that's Chelsea's cat. His name is
that's
Pup.
my cat.
And the irony. And the funny thing about Pup is when you said they have to use their brain to get their food, I'm like, poor Pup is going to lose like 10 pounds.
I know. No, so what they're doing is just flipping the whole thing over, and now I can't get them to stop. So there's nothing I can do about that. So if you hear things being flipped over, that's what's happening.
Or they're knocking stuff off shelves, which they're notorious for doing.
Well, Yeah, that too.
All right. So
Okay,
going back to the spring cleaning, though, what are we spring cleaning when it comes to small businesses?
Yes. So this is your chance as a small business to reflect, right? Spring is the perfect time to look back and reflect and also just, clean things up. And we'll go through a bunch of categories that I think are definitely important that you're going to want to look back at for spring cleaning your small business. But to begin, I just want to say, take a second to assess your small business. Have you grown in any way? Have you changed? Is your mission the same? Are your goals the same? Maybe the past couple of years you've been focused on growth, but now you want to focus on customer retention. Just going through and looking at where you are in your small business journey, really important. That's going to be your first step for your spring cleaning for your small business. A great time to do a SWOT analysis.
Yes. And I do think that it's very nice that these kind of pair and mesh up with quarterly objectives. So that being, Chelsea and I always recommend whenever we are telling you guys to do like a marketing plan, because we do think marketing plans are really useful because it's kind of like a guide that you can use throughout the year. We tell you that you shouldn't, or if you want to do a long-term marketing plan, that's great. But typically for small businesses, it's easier when you take smaller bites of it. And so if you are developing a marketing plan that's going to be for a year, at some point you have to check in on it, and doing it after the first quarter really helps. And so think of the spring cleaning as a way for you guys to kind of get everything tidied up so that you can move forward into that second quarter and you can go into the summertime with some of these loose ends tied up. So Chelsea's first steps or recommendations was that you assess where you are, and potentially, if it makes sense, to do a SWOT analysis, because maybe you haven't done one in a while, then now is the time to do it as you're spring cleaning your marketing. Now, SWOT, remember, we don't want to assume that people know exactly what that means. A SWOT analysis is a strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. This is a really great way for you just to bullet point where your business is, either within the industry or amongst competition or in your geographic area. So it kind of just gives you a baseline. These are not labeled good or bad or anything like that. What it's supposed to do is just kind of help you reset that button. So if you do a strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and you're analyzing where you are on each ones, you'll be able to play into your opportunities, but also be able to plan and account for those threats that you can see coming down the pipeline.
Absolutely. This is also the perfect time to, and we say it all the time on this podcast, look at your data. Looking back at your data, looking at your initiatives, see what's working and what's not. Don't be afraid to make changes or to try something new. And we've had this discussion. If you haven't listened to our marketing plan episode of this podcast, I suggest that you go listen to it, because really our entire point in that episode was that a marketing plan is an outline to help you get comfortable and to give you some guidelines, but it's not set in stone. We're in April right now. Let's say you are taking the time to look at your marketing initiatives and you're like, this one's really not working. It doesn't matter if it's in your marketing plan. You can go ahead and make those changes. Like, there are no rules. No one's going to yell at you. You are your small business owner. You can do whatever you want and what works for you. And why would you continue to do something that's not working?
Absolutely. That's a very good point.
Speaking of changes, look at your website. This is a really big one that I think we can sometimes forget about. But there are probably one or two changes that you want to make on your website. We're not saying revamp it, but an example, I'm not going to say any names, but I used to work for an allergist, and sometimes I'm nosy. And so Vivian, it's been what, like 2-3 years since I've worked there,
Yeah, it's been a hot minute.
right? Yeah, they haven't updated the website at all. They have new providers. They've lost some providers. I'm pretty sure in one of the offices they changed like office hours. None of those updates have been made on their website. That is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, the providers that you have, the people, the doctors that you have there, you haven't updated that. That's insane. Now, I'm not trying to yell at anyone, but it is so important to keep your website up to date because that is how people find you. That is how they learn what they can about you.
Yeah. One of the really important mind shifts in regards to a website, I think, are when you start looking at a website as a living, breathing thing, because that's what it is, right? So essentially knowing that you should be going in there and just keeping stuff up to date. And that's what Chelsea's saying. That's without even like a blog post, perspective to it, right? To keep the search engine, finding your website and all of that. If at bare minimum, you are just putting information about your services online or about your products, you've probably had some changes in the last couple of months. And so use this time to add website checks to your spring cleaning for your marketing. So get in there, go through every single one of the pages, even your About Us and all of that, because the thing is, if your small business is growing, you may want to add a sentence or two or change up your bio on that About Us page. On top of it, if you're offering new services or perhaps you've done away with other products and services, you want that to really line up well. If you've added an office, a location, changed your hours, all of that good stuff. If you had a shift in personnel, team members, you'll want to be sure that it's accurate online.
I do also want to suggest, of course, looking at your website, making sure everything's up to date and stuff like that. If you have the chance, if you have the ability, I would also consider starting to optimize your website for SGE because we know it's coming. We know Google is going to make it at some point the only option. So if you have a chance, if you're already making changes to your website, why not also include optimizing it for SGE as well?
SGE, for those of you that are maybe a little out of the loop or haven't heard about it yet, it's Google's newest, what they're calling search generative experience. And this is where they have integrated AI into the Google search engine. What right now, it's just something you can sign up for. So I've signed up for it, and that's what my Google search experience is. It now includes AI, but we have a sneaking suspicion here, Chelsea and I do, that eventually it's not going to be an option. That right now they're working through the kinks so that eventually they'll take away the old Google search, and then moving forward at some point, maybe next year or the year after, they're going to say, hey, this is just going to be the way that Google searches are going to go, right, with the use of AI. So going back to what you were saying, Chelsea, it's not a bad idea for you guys to right now, if you're going in and doing that spring cleaning, go to our YouTube channel over at The Seasoned Marketer and watch our video on SGE. So I think the title of it says like big SEO changes. We just uploaded it maybe a couple weeks ago, but that's going to give you the overall feel for what's going to be changing, and it's going to give you tips on what you can do to help you be in a good spot whenever Google does roll those out permanently.
Yeah, definitely. You want to, if you don't know that much about SGE, or if you just want to brush up on it before you start editing your website, definitely go watch that video. Also, we're talking about websites, spring cleaning, stuff like that. Landing pages, also a really important one. And again, I feel like that's one that we can forget about. It's one of those things that we just set it and forget it, like you create it and then, okay, it's created, but things change and you might need to update it. You might not even remember that you have some of these landing pages. So just go through and think about what links you have, what information is out there. Maybe you check on your links. So you like your link in bio and stuff like that. What were you
Yeah,
gonna say?
I think that with landing pages, what I also, and this is from personal experience just recently, because if you're anything like us and you're always looking to grow your platform and your audience base, you may incorporate free guides and free downloads as a way to funnel people onto your email list. And so, to Chelsea's point with the landing pages, a lot of times you are creating these landing pages that will ask people just for like their first name and their email address, but be sure that you check each one of those out and that the content is still relevant. For example, one of the ones that we had was it was like a generic download. And I noticed that in the copy, I had actually put the year in there. So it said, if in 2023, well, obviously now we're in 2024. So I had to go in and update that. So just go in there and be sure that your copy is still relevant, that you're still offering that download, that it's not a broken link, or that if someone tries to go to that landing page, it doesn't exist anymore. Because over time, over the years, you're going to end up getting a nice list of all those things you're offering out there. And you hit the nail on the head with the links in bio. A lot of people are using like Stan Store, or we happen to use links.co, links.co. If you have a page like that, be sure that all of the links are working correctly and that your offerings are still there and that it's set up the way you want to. Perhaps you're shifting your focus in, honing in and promoting a particular service this quarter. If that's the case, you're going to want to make sure that those singular pages are actually, promoting what you're wanting at the time.
That's a really good point. Nothing annoys me more than finding a post, me being interested in it, them saying, oh, you can find this link in my bio. Then I go to the bio and they haven't updated yet. It's not relevant anymore. Or they just don't have it in there. And I'm like, well, now I don't trust you because now I feel like you don't know what you're doing, right? So making sure that that's up to date.
Right. Well, if you're telling someone like, hey, get this download by going here, you want to be sure that you're sending them to the right spot, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Do you love making crafts and working on your small business but struggle to get them in front of customers?
Do craft fairs, events, or pop-ups leave you feeling overwhelmed or frustrated?
Introducing Rock Your Fair, the course designed to help you succeed in the world of craft fairs, pop-ups, and events, created by two marketing professionals with over 15 years of experience. Rock Your Fair is perfect for anyone who's new to the game or just wants to step up their game.
Our step-by-step approach will guide you through everything you need to know, from choosing the right events, to setting up your booth, to marketing your products effectively.
And you know what? You'll also get access to us for personalized coaching and feedback so you can put your best foot forward.
Do not let craft fairs, pop-ups, and events hold you back. Sign up for Rock Your Fair today and start rocking your way to success.
For a limited time, get access to our free mini course. Simply head over to our website at www.theseasonmarketer.com and click on workshops.
A big chunk of spring cleaning for me specifically, especially when I was in the corporate setting, is emails.
Mm-hmm.
Email automation, your actual email list, all of that stuff. It is so important to clean that stuff because email marketing is one of the most effective marketing initiatives there are. There are.
There is.
There is. Thank you. That you want to make sure that you're sending people the correct stuff, right? I mean, automations I'm talking about automated emails. I can, and I also do want to mention that this can include automated DMs like ManyChat, the same idea, but making sure, is my ManyChat correct? Are my automated emails correct? Is the verbiage correct? Is it sending the right people to the right place? We use ManyChat. ManyChat is an automated DM system for Instagram. So someone just comments pod and we'll send them a direct link to the podcast, but it's all automated, correct? Okay, well, one of the days someone had commented pod and it wasn't working. And we wouldn't have noticed that. So it's really important to make sure that these things are working, both for emails and just automated things in general.
Well, and also with regard to email more specifically, when you set up some of these automations, so we happen to use for our email platform, it's called Flowdesk. And within Flowdesk, we have it set up to where we've created a workflow that anytime somebody gets on our email list, no matter for what download or freebie it is, we have it set up to where they get the email that sends them the actual download, and then we wait 24 hours, and then we send them a welcome email that basically is to promote the rest of the stuff that we have available within our sphere. And what we mean by that is this isn't like paid program stuff. This is stuff that we're telling them, hey, take full advantage of our marketing videos on the YouTube platform. We have over 200 videos available, right? We're also telling them you're going to get a weekly email from us from here on out. Hey, by the way, we now have a podcast where we release a weekly episode. Whenever you and I started the podcast, which has been now at about a year, so about 12 months ago, I had to go in and be sure that I updated that initial welcome email because now we had another educational thing that we were pushing out. So use this time to go in there and be sure that you're not offering, or maybe you haven't left something out, because as your business grows, you're hitting the pavement day in and day out. And very few times when you're launching something new, do you stop to say, where am I pushing this in? Have I gone back to update and to let people know? Never assume that people know that you now, like in our instance, have a podcast, because most of the people that are on our email list don't know that. And so that's where, you have to go in and just revamp and update that verbiage.
Introduction emails are so important, and I feel like they get forgotten about so often. Another story. There was a clinical research group that was a part of the office that I worked for. And we had an email list for people specifically interested in clinical research. I created the introduction email, and originally in the introduction email, I actually had a bio for the team, like for the people who work there. Okay, but so many people kept coming in and out of the research department that I had to take it out of the introductory email, because I cannot keep updating this email every couple of months, adding in someone new or taking someone out. So I ended up just taking that bio out of the introductory email because I was updating this email way too many times. It just wasn't It wasn't
the best
working.
format.
It wasn't helping. But that's the point, is also if I had forgotten to update it and someone ended up coming to the research department and then seeing the people that I had added to the email were no longer there, they're going to be like,
Well, I think it maybe as a reminder, what it does too is it gives you a perspective that if it gives you an opportunity, if you're sitting down and kind of going through and scrubbing what you've done up till this time, and something is not working, or you find, like Chelsea was just explaining, that you're spending a whole lot of time with updating information that is it nice to have? Yeah, it's nice to have bios of the people you may see in the office. Is it absolutely necessary? It's kind of silly if you're switching people out every other week. And so that's where use, this stuff has to fit into your business and it has to work for you. And so while you may think that it's a nice to have, is it a must have? No. Just find something else to put in that welcome email that spotlights. Perhaps the best thing to do is to spotlight the fact that you have a Facebook page, or they can follow you on Instagram, because you do keep Facebook and Instagram most updated, right? So those are just things to leverage what you're doing to work for you. And during this springtime, go in there and assess what's not working for me and how can I make this a little easier for myself. By the same token, if you as a small business owner are doing a lot of this heavy lifting and you're in a good opportunity, or you're in a space where you have team members that can help you, ask yourself, am I holding on to this responsibility because I'm not ready to hand it over to somebody else? Or what is that all about? So if you find that I, Vivian, should not be doing the welcome email, maybe that's something I should punt to Chelsea, then, this would be a good opportunity for your staff to get in the habit that you assess this every couple of months to be sure that everything is working the way it should be.
That's a really great point too, and something you guys should really consider. Am I doing this because I need to be doing this, or can I hand this off and share responsibility with someone else on my team? There is nothing wrong with having someone on your team doing something for you. Like, you do not have to be the sole provider of all the things when it comes to your small business. You can ask for help. You can use your team. Completely understandable.
Yeah. Sometimes too, what kind of trips people up is that they're scared. And I don't mean scared in a bad way, but they're scared to hand off that responsibility because they're like, as a small business owner, are they going to write about my business the way that I want things written? Well, one of the ways that you can do this is to create a transition period. If you know that you don't want to be spending time writing your emails or doing whatever other task in your business, but you're not quite comfortable today to hand it off to someone, then say, hey, I would like to hand this off to you here in 2 months. Up until now, for the next 2 months, you and I are going to work together so that I can show you what my process is for coming up with ideas, for doing the writing. This is the style I like it written. This is the purpose of it. In every single email that we send out, we have to spotlight or promote at least one product or service, right? Or we have to do X, Y, and Z, but we want it to be educational. And so over time, that trains the other person. Then you see their work, you're comfortable with it. Eventually it transitions completely to them and off of your plate. But this would be a good time to find those opportunities that you may just be, spending time doing things that you don't need to be doing.
Absolutely. Since we're still on the topic of emails, I want to also say, when it comes to spring cleaning and your emails, clean out your email list. This is so important. Clearing out the people who have unsubscribed, clearing out all the people who maybe reported you as spam, making sure you're sending emails only to the people who are interested in receiving emails. I mean, one, it's going to help and clear things up for you. You have a better picture of how your email marketing is doing, how your email list is doing. Also, it's going to help you make sure you don't get into trouble, because email marketing, while it is a very, very powerful tool, if you're being spammy, you're going to get in trouble.
Yeah.
And then you won't be able to send out any emails. Exactly. So it's so important to clean out your email list.
Yeah. And now, especially too, with Google kind of changing the way that it's doing stuff and blacklisting people a lot easier, it definitely is more important now than ever. We also happen to have a YouTube video on that. If you guys are like, what are you talking about that, we're going to get blacklisted? we have a YouTube video
Mhm.
on the Seasoned Marketer that walks through these email changes, and I believe the thumbnail or the actual like title of the video is
I'll
something
add it.
like, yeah, it's like blacklisting,
Mhm. Yeah.
small business emails or something like that.
I'll put it in the show notes so you guys can easily find it. Wow, we have a video for like everything. It's almost
Imagine
like you
that.
guys should
Should
listen
go
to
check
it.
out our.
Go check it out. Yeah. But I think also I want to go back to the fact that cleaning out your email list is also going to show you how your initiatives are doing, because let's say you're sending out like a weekly newsletter and you're getting a lot of unsubscriptions, like unsubscribes. Maybe people would prefer if you did a monthly email. And then maybe you can create a separate email list saying, hey, the people who want to receive a weekly email from me, sign up here. And then everyone else only get a monthly email. Maybe your monthly emails are doing amazing and you're thinking, maybe I should do a weekly newsletter. Using the information that you have is so important, and cleaning out your email list and looking at how people are interacting in that email list is going to be really helpful.
Absolutely. So, Chelsea, let's do a really brief wrap up of the items we told them to look at for what we're calling spring cleaning, quote unquote.
Okay, well, first, we want you guys to be introspective. Think about your small business, where you are, what changes have you made, have you grown, all of that sort of stuff. Definitely a great time to do a SWOT analysis. You're going to want to make sure that your website is up to date, that it has the correct information. Maybe you start optimizing it for SGE if you have a chance, if you have the ability. That's definitely something to consider. Check on your landing pages, check on your automations, whether that's an automated email or an automated DM service, that sort of thing. Emails in general, you're going to want to check on them, make sure they're up to date, make sure your email list is up to date, and making sure that everything is moving and working smoothly.
Yeah, and we did touch a little bit about, checking on the tasks that you're doing and if there are opportunities to offload any of that to other team members. But even though we are calling this, or we did call this spring cleaning, we do want to note that this is something you guys should be doing quarterly. So do it every couple months.
Yeah.
And so, not that we're going to come at you with an episode for summer cleaning or for winter cleaning or for fall cleaning or anything like that. We won't be super repetitive, but we do want to recommend that you maybe jot these down onto a list, post it somewhere that you're going to see it, or put a calendar reminder on your phone or on your laptop, and revisit these every 3 to 4 months. And then that way, that gives you ample time to make sure that your business is running on all cylinders.
I think it would be a really great idea also to maybe make a list of things to update whenever you make big changes in your small business. So let's say you're adding a new product, maybe just make a list like, got to make sure it's on the website, got to make sure it's on the landing, or, make sure, have a list of everything that you need to update when a big change happens in your small business.
Yeah, checklists are excellent, especially because eventually, as you grow your team, these checklists are going to be what keeps everybody on the same page and communicating clearly. Yeah. I can tell you that in my corporate life, because we do a lot of onboarding, offboarding, stuff like that of medical providers, there is a checklist that we typically internally, the entire team has come up with for their individual departments. And it really, really helps. First couple times you use it, it's like, did we leave stuff off? Do we want to add to it? But once you kind of get in the groove of using it often, and your team just knows like, hey, whenever a change happens in this area, these are the tasks at hand that everybody's responsible for, then it does help with the communication. And then you're not having to use Headspace to try to remember things. right? You're just sitting there and saying, let me go to my list, let me check it off. It's all updated and I know I didn't miss anything.
Oh, that's a big one for me. That's part of the reason why I make checklists. I always make a checklist at the beginning of the week because I do not remember things. I'm not good at remembering what needs to be done. So I make a checklist. I number everything in what order it needs to be done because I'm not writing it down in the correct order. I'm just writing it down in the, oh, this just came to my head. This is what I need to do. So I then go back and like number them on do this first, second, third. Yeah. Checklists, huge lifesaver.
Love it. All right. So that is a wrap for this episode of the S.O.B. Marketing Podcast. We want to remind you guys that we want to cover topics that are going to be interesting and helpful to you. If you have a small business marketing question, or you're a little confused about any particular type of marketing initiative, or you've heard something out there that did not seem right, and you don't want to take that advice, send it in to us, email us, Vivian at the Season Marketer or Chelsea at the Season Marketer, and we will be sure that we add it to our list of topics to cover on this podcast.
Yeah, and go be the best SOB you can be.